We're going to hear from the head of state, Dennis Bumpy Kanahele, from the independent and sovereign nation of Hawaii. And here to introduce him is Heyl from Bay Cells.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Heyl with Bay Cells Technologies. It's okay. I get it all the time. We are one of the sponsors for this great event. So we are an LTE manufacturer, and we deal primarily with ISPs in North America for rural broadband and building networks for underserved communities. So I just want to say thank you to ISOC for this event and putting this on. And if you have any questions or want to talk about LTE or networks in underserved areas or rural broadband, we're in the back and we will be here all week. We will also be leading a training and helping the community later in the week build a network. So further ado, I'll introduce Bumpy. Here you go. I'm going to put, oh, I'm going to put
Okay. Maybe I should sit in the middle, right in the middle over here. Let's figure this out now. All right. E iho ano luna e pi ano lalo e hui ana na moko e ku ana kapai a. E iho ano luna e pi ano lalo e hui ana na moko e ku ana kapai a. E iho ano luna e pi ano lalo e hui ana na moko e ku ana kapai a. E iho ano luna e pi ano lalo e hui ana na moko e ku ana kapai a. Aloha. Oh, okay. Oh, my name is uhonua Bumpy Kanahele. I'm the head of state of the nation of Hawaii, and I wanted to start off not so much in a technical world, because there's a lot of things going on in Hawaii that most of you might not be aware of, and if you see Hawaiians acting funny or doing stuff that is like, you know, not normal, that's because something like this happened to us. And so I want to hit on, you know, how the nation of Hawaii came about, you know, and leading right into what we're doing today to actually have a broadband system for our nation, you know, when we get back to Honolulu. But in 1893, our queen, the Hawaiian kingdom, was overthrown with the help of missionaries or descendants of missionaries, sugar planters, corporations. And there was so much turmoil in Hawaii, you know, for Hawaii, that finally in 1893 the queen was overthrown, and you know, immediately the people that was responsible as Committee of Safety, they took over, put our queen in her palace under house arrest. So she was arrested in 1894. She stayed in a palace, I'm not sure how long it was, but until they completely, you know, wiped us out at that level. Then in 1897, there was a resurgence trying to restore. There were a lot of our ancestors were trying to fight for the right to restore her. And that almost took place with one president, that was President Cleveland, during that time. And that president was the first one said, yes, the United States committed an act of war against the Hawaiian people, blah, blah, blah. So 1897 was pivotal because the United States claimed to have annexed, or the state of Hawaii claimed to have annexed Hawaii, or based on acquiring Hawaii, that there was an annexation that took place. No, that's not true. There was a very, very strong movement in Hawaii at that time to restore the crown, and we called it ku'e. It's the ku'e petition, and the ku'e petition was against the annexation. Almost 38,000 signatures. At that time, they were going from island to island in canoes, and can you imagine that? And different islands, and gathering up all these signatures so that their representatives could take it to America and say, well, we don't want to be annexed. Anyway, so the U.S. Congress just passed a simple joint resolution, and that is how Hawaii was transferred over to the United States. Didn't end there. In 1900, they realized that they had to create an organic act, a constitution to govern the territory of Hawaii. Then, what was interesting after that, in 1921, the United States created the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. Now, I have a problem with that because, to begin with, the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act set a blood quantum situation in place, which became real divisive. You know, today, Hawaiians with less than 50% Hawaiian, you don't get any land. Hawaiians that got 50% or more, you have an opportunity to get the land. And with the cost of living and all that stuff, you know, we got maybe over 30,000 Hawaiians on the waiting list to get Hawaiian homelands. And that happened in 1921. Now, all along, all these years, I kept thinking, you know, what happened after the Queen was deposed? What happened to the people? They were nationals that had Hawaiian national passports, not U.S. passports. They were nationals of a country. So what happened to the people, right, along the way? 1893, 1897. 1921, to me, was a holding cell for the national sovereignty of the Hawaiian people. And it's very, very obvious because Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, and I heard Merrill said that today, Hawaiian Homes Commission Act is not a federally recognized program. How come? If we're not this and we're not that, then who are we? I can tell you that we're going to reach 1993, then I'm going to tie everything in. So in 1921, the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act happens. The holding cell is put out for the Hawaiian people to make sure that they can keep their identity in place, their national identity in place. Why? Because 1945, for those of you who know about the United Nations, Hawaii entered into the United Nations as a non-self-governing territory in 1945. And that 1945, in 1945, Article 73 of the UN Charter was to decolonize. Decolonize. The Article 73A specifically says to ensure with due respect to the culture of the peoples concerned, their political, economic, social, educational advancement, just treatment, and protection against abuses. That never happened for Hawaii. 14 years later, we became a state, 58th state. Now, in that process from 1945 to 1959, the United States supposed to take the Hawaiians by the hand and show them how to decolonize themselves from the system. That was part of it. Now, a non-self-governing territory can say has reached a full measure of self-governance by integration with an independent state, free association with an independent state, or independence. And when you look at the three choices, Hawaii didn't fit because we were overthrown. And so the standard integration, free association, independence, for us it was restoration of independence. So statehood happened, and from statehood to 1993, that was a crucial thing in the beginning of Hawaii, the nation of Hawaii. 1993, in July on my birthday, actually, I got a call from the governor at that time, Waimānalo, and he asked me to sit on the Sovereignty Advisory Commission 21-member Sovereignty Advisory Commission. So, and we were on the beach at Makapu. We were occupying land. And I'm telling the governor, why me? I don't believe in a state. I don't believe in a federal government. He said, well, I thought you would have a different view in this commission. And so I said, you know what, I'll jump on the board. So I became a state commissioner for the Sovereignty Elections Council in 1993. And I was the chairperson for the International Law Committee. It was known as Legislative Mandate Beyond, I forgot that part. Anyway, so what happened was this committee could bring in international lawyers. And just so happened from October, when we started to work on getting the international lawyers here, because we wanted to get somebody to tell us what's happening with this apology law, right? That was the key thing, was what's happening with this apology law? You know, the senators at that time were saying, well, it's just an apology, and all that. And so in October, the Senate, U.S. Senate, passed the apology law. And when they did that, the attorney I was in touch with, finally I sent him the stuff. I said, hey, you got to come here, give us an opinion. In the next week, the House, or the following week, the House, on November 15th, signed the apology law. And on November 23rd, President Clinton signed that into effect. And when that happened, a lot of us know they admitted to the crime now. And when you look at the whereas clause, 37 whereas clauses on that, every whereas clause is exactly what they did to us. You know what the beautiful thing of this apology was? They told us who we were in the very first whereas clause. If you ever get to look at U.S. Public Law 103, 150, in the beginning it says, whereas prior to the arrival of the first Europeans in 1778, the Hawaiian people lived in a highly organized, self-sufficient, subsistent social system based on communal land tenure. It didn't stop there. We had a sophisticated language, culture, and religion. Then whereas clause, it destroyed all of that. So when the professor came in, it was on December 28th, to give his opinion. It was at the Mabel Smythe Auditorium. There was about 1,000 people there. And so he grabs the apology law. He goes, first read the law. First thing occurred to me is, now that the United States have finally conceded to the illegal throw of the Hawaiian people, the Hawaiian people can now proclaim the restoration of their independence. Something our Queen and I tried to fight for back in the 1800s. Finally, it come through the passing of this law. And that is what's stirring up Hawaiians today, because that opened the door to a lot more information on Hawaiian kingdom laws, Hawaiian this, Hawaiian that. And our people are learning. I mean, for God's sakes, we got damaged like many other countries in the world, but we got damaged to a point, it was more like of a clandestine manipulation towards genocide. And what Francis said was, with this law, he can prove that genocide has been committed against the Hawaiian people. Now, the only way, and he goes on to say that the only way that a peoples can ever be safe from extermination is to become an independent state. Like how we're trying to be independent broadband producers, right? Independent. So you're in total control of that. And so that's why our people are in that dilemma about, you know, this is ours, that is ours, the sacred Mauna. Our queen was ridiculed, put in prison in her own palace to make sure that nobody else would ever look at any figure in the Hawaiian community that way. That's the sad part. We gotta tell this story, and you realize, like, holy moly. So I asked Francis after that night, because it was unbelievable. His whole, you can find that on nationofhawaii.org. Got all the information is on our website, all these documentation and stuff like that. I talked to Francis after, and I said, Francis, what do we have to do? He said, proclaim the restoration of your independence, Bumpy. You gotta do that. So in 1994, we got together with Francis and the kupunas, the elders from, So we got together with the elders from all the islands and talked about it. And Francis told the kupuna, now you don't have to build an organic document or a constitution that is like the United States of America or some other country. From what he's seen, and I took him through all the islands to have this talk during that time, he said, you already have a system. You have a ohana system. You have the keiki, you have the opio, you have the makua, you have the kupuna, the age kids of our people. And so during that year in 1994, January 16th, a day before the commemoration of the overthrow, 1994, we proclaimed the restoration of our independence and immediately went into a constitutional convention. And all year, 1994, all the way through 95, and finally at the end of 95, we came to an agreement with this document. And January 16, 1995, we promulgated the Hawaii Constitution, all based on our ohana. It's not based on anything else. And so the tribunal was set up, an executive branch was set up, and a general assembly with the two branches of government. The kupuna, the elders, would be in control of the tribunal, and to make sure that we don't go through the same scenario again that happened to us. And in between all these years from 93 to now, the nation has totally gone into a whole different progressive, forward, active movement to not spend a lot of time on politics, because we're already the nation. As far as we're concerned, we're the nation. That's our political situation. And we're going to build the foundation like how we're building the broadband foundation for our people. It's so like it has it just wraps around each other, the two things, our nation building and the broadband building, and quite frankly, everything else we're doing. Again, we've never had help from the state or the federal government. We were afraid to get federal money because then they got you on the books and start looking into your stuff. Even though we took an independent stance, we had to create a nonprofit organization. That was the farthest I would go into America to be part of that. Hawaiian by birth, American by force now. True story. So when I see what we're doing today, bringing everything to what we're doing today, it's a nation. It's the rise of a digital nation. That's something. How many? I'm going to ask this question. How many of you guys got digital IDs? Raise your hand. Digital IDs, anybody? Digital IDs? No emails in here. Anybody got emails? Raise your hand. Same thing. See, that's what I that's what I learned. Right? So now I get a state driver's license, I get a US passport, I get a Hawaiian ID, and now I get a digital ID, I realize. All right? Or email address. I like digital because that starts to flip our mind into like what we're talking about. And if we don't start talking that way, who's going to believe in a digital world, right? I mean, it's old, but it's new. For us, it's a dream, you know. And we've never worked with the state government at all, not even the federal government, for God's sakes. If you cannot do them yourself, then don't build a country. You know, that's what we feel. That's how we think. Why? Why do we need their help? You know what, the monies you guys get, we can take like about 5% of that and build a whole other city. And so the movement, there's like many different levels of the Hawaiian movement today in Hawaii. Some want federal recognition. They want that status so that possibly they could have federal benefits and all that. I think we've been through that scenario to see that our brothers and sisters in America are not getting a fair shake on the federal recognition. So why would we want that, right? Why? Now we're the real deal. You're not going to find any more real deal than Bumpy Kanahele, the Nation of Hawaii, Brandon Maka'ava, John Garcia. You're not going to find anything. And I think this way, the relationship with the state of Hawaii through DBED, Bert, and introducing us to ISOC, you know, the Internet Society, Mark, Matthew, and you guys, that makes, you know, the pain that we get, makes it better when you can, like, you know, shoot off into another exciting opportunity, right? And make that work. And so that's what drives us away from being so kolohe. And believe me, when I see all people on a mountain getting arrested, when I see them getting arrested in Waimānalo or Kahuku or Kalai, you know, we don't like that. But then if we get sidetracked by everything that's going on out there, we won't be in the situation we are, and that's why we're here today, you know, because we have the opportunity through these guys, you know, through Bert. Bert, we're going to vote you for governor, bro. And they told me I had plenty of time, bro. No, you know, and I just wanted to share that. And for you that have experience, and for the women that have children, you know, the men in here, we cannot ever imagine how it feels to give birth. Ever, right? But the women can tell us how it feels. In this movement, we can tell you how it feels. We come from a community. We're seeing the ups and downs and lows, and we still live in that community, you know? And these technologies and things like this going to bring so much joy to people. I mean, you know, in our village, my daughter-in-law, when my grandchildren were going high school, I think what was happening is she had to get her stuff online in the next city over. So she drove down to her parents' house, get online, fast speed, everything like that. And it didn't dawn on me that it was a hassle, you know? It was a hassle, not only a hassle, but then they worked through it. They spent the time to take the children and get adjusted to the digital world in school. Because not everybody in Homestead have access to that. The in-house, our kids are failing and falling back, not in school. They can do their work in school, But they cannot do their work at home because their home don't have any computer or technology. And my dream is to just stack them up and get that, get the lines in there, make sure that they have the ability to be on the same playing field with every other child that is in there. Our community is, and I'm sure you folks see and have communities in that situation, but like, we live in our community. Brandon and I, John, we don't live in a village. Where you guys gonna come on Thursday, we don't live there. It almost like I live there, but I'm there morning, noon, night, and go home to sleep. And because where I live in a homestead, there's like the poverty level and the abuse and all that stuff is so high, overcrowding, all that stuff, that I didn't want to forget that. So I stay home. We can build all the things we want to build at night. And just so you know, that when we did occupy Makapu back in the day, all the people were homeless or houseless. And we totally forgot about that. Yeah, Brandon, we forgot about that our village was made up of more homeless and houseless than you have on the streets. And but we didn't think of that. Everything went forward. They bettered their lives. You started getting a lot of the human resource help, from people donating their times and all that. But I can tell you that this is like the broadband setup and learning all this stuff is so exciting for us. We had a meeting before we left with our families up there and make sure that we're going to feed you guys well and we're going to do all this stuff that, Ninau has done over here and with their workers and all that. Thank you for the food. That was beautiful today. But we kind of preparing. You guys are going to have good fun over there. Not too many people come into our village, because for one reason or another, even the police ask permission before they come in. The FBI, well, they kind of play a little bit rough, but our gate bigger now. It's an automatic gate, so you gotta break through our gate, bro. You will damage your car, Nah, but I think that is pretty much who the nation of Hawaii is, and the things that I wanted to share so that that's no wonder these Hawaiians doing this or the Hawaiian is doing that, because it is, they have the right to do that. Excuse them. They know what they're doing. They have the right to do that, but please excuse them. That's their kuleana. That's why they're doing that. They're not doing it to spite you or anything like that. It's something. It's an ongoing thing for hundreds of years now. And how do we fix it? I guess we got to use aloha more harder than we ever did before, because that's what it's all about. You come to Hawaii, it's all about aloha. It's all about that. So we cannot fight back, even if we wanted to. No way. Our ancestors wouldn't let us do that. But we can fight with this, with our brains, with our communications, with the engagement, the engagement that Jeffrey was talking about. Explore and engage. I like that. Anybody want to ask questions or go ahead, brother.
So right now you can exist as a sovereign nation, kind of in a low profile. And as you guys grow, at some point in time, you're going to kind of butt heads with the states and the federal. Have you thought about that time when that happens and how you're going to address that?
Well, we have elections, right? It's a democratic process. So in our Constitution, when it started, I got appointed as the head of state, and I was stuck with that job ever since, 24 years ago. And so I never finished this story. Let me go real fast to 1995. After we worked out some details with the state to get on a property, the feds came after me in August of 1995. I was doing talks in San Francisco. We flew to Maui, my wife and I, and we met the elders there. We stayed over and had a big talk and a dinner, and I was on my way to Kauai the next day. So on my way, it was supposed to go direct flight. They asked to stop to refuel, or something was wrong with the plane, change planes or something like that. And as I was coming off the plane, me and my wife, these black cars came right onto the runway with marshals and FBI agents. And as I was coming down the stairs, they pulled me inside of the car. So, that happened in August. In November, by the time November came around, you had people like churches going to bat for me, going in and like trying to put that kind of pressure on the federal government, because it was the federal government that came after me. The head of state, we executed some human rights violation citations using the Genocide Act, US 100-606, and we started to actually file charges against police officers. The state couldn't handle me. That's why the feds came in, because we filed against the federal judges too. And one judge just said, no, you're threatening us. And so that's how I got pulled in. And so there was a fabrication of all that stuff. So that in 1996, what happened is I came out in 1995. They kept me in prison for about 3.5 months, no bail. And the apology bill, the federal judge took my foundation, the apology bill, right out of my case. And I was left hanging. Yeah, we tried to bring in my international attorney and all that. So they really, I was going through a kangaroo situation that time, just to stop what we were doing, because we had set up our own tribunals. So we had judges, our kupuna were the judges, and we had on every island. So now filing charges against these guys and having them having to come to our courts, we switched everything on them. So we're bringing summons to SWAT team officers. I mean, my guys went right into the police department, right into the SWAT central headquarters to issue human rights violation citations. True story. So low key, I don't think it's low key. It's they forgot about us, you know. They forgot about us.
Bumpy.
But okay, sorry.
A round of applause.